Alrighty, good morning everybody. It is Friday, August 20th, 2021, and we are looking at the S&P 500 futures market, and we'll get started here with our pre-market analysis. One quick thing, like I've been doing lately, I'd like to look at these retracements. They just seem to be working really nicely here. So remember the sell-off that began on the night of the 16th going into the 17th here, and then the really bearish morning we had on the 17th here. We measured this leg here from that high down to the low that we made, and it was a really nice healthy leg there. And you can see that we came up just in front of the 61.8 retracement and then started selling off. Well, I just want to point out that the 100% extension of this leg here ended up bringing us right down to 46.75. The market actually bounced there at 47.75, just 1 point in front of that extension. So I thought that was just kind of neat to point out there. And then one other thing is, looking at yesterday's price action, we had the low at 47.75 pushing to 14.75, and look where we bounced in this overnight session, right off the 61.8 retracement of that leg there. And then if we look back here, we had that swing high where we got resistance back on yesterday's market in the pre-market session there, right off that level. So just some really nice confluence there. Now you can see that these extensions up above would bring us right up into a lot of the support we had in looks like, what was that, Wednesday's market there. So if the bulls do have some strength this morning, they're able to continue to push and break yesterday's high, then that 27% extension is going to bring us up into a little bit of resistance in the market. You could even see all the way back to August 16th, that morning we bounced right off of that level around 32.75 and had this strong push. So we do have that lining up there, and then the 100% extension would bring us all the way up to almost 4,500 here. So we'll have to see what things what things occur here this morning. But let's go ahead and jump to our ultra high time frames and take a look at everything here. So our quarterly chart, our 3-month, same situation as it's been for a long time. And then our monthly here, we actually talked about coming down and testing the bottom end of this trend line here, and so far still holding in this pattern. And if we end up having a strong day today and a strong week next week, we could end up closing this monthly out looking very strong here. If they start to sell off, it's not going to look very, from a candlestick perspective, is not going to look very nice for the bulls there. But right now, still looking strong, no signs of exhaustion there. And then on our weekly, we are starting to get a little bit of a sign of exhaustion up top here, despite how strong and bullish the market looks right now. We do have the potential for that to happen. The flip side of that is, if we do, just like I said on the monthly chart, if we do start to get a strong push here today and we end up pushing a little bit higher and this bar turns, I guess you could say, blue here or green, and it pushes higher, then things will start to actually look nicer. And then this situation here with the RVI very well could end up closing up higher here if that does happen. So ideally today we'll have a strong rally and we'll turn this bar into a nice green bar here. But overall, again, with the weekly, everything's looking pretty strong. We just have the potential for a little bit of a bearish exhaustion pattern going on here. On the daily, you guys know that I don't really like to jump across all of this price action here, but they're really, from this low that we made on RVI, we never really had another low to make a divergence with. And because this kind of clears all this garbage here and goes right across, I do think that that is a legitimate signal that I would be looking at. And so with this potential bullish signal that we have on the daily, we can couple that with the fact that this candlestick right here is, in my opinion, looks much more bullish than it does bearish. So we have this huge wick to the downside. It looks like, the bulls ended up, the bears took it all the way down here, bulls took it all the way back up and closed higher than where it opened. And now with this new candle here, today's candle also looks very, very strong just with the overnight price action. So again, I'd like to see them try to go ahead and push this coming into today, and we'll see what they can do here. But right now, daily has a very clear bullish divergence and a very bullish looking candle from yesterday. So pretty much everything up here is bullish except for that one slight bearish indication on the weekly. When we get to our 4 hour, it's that same situation. Like I said, I don't really like to jump all the way back like that, but because this low was never really used for a divergence and all this other RVI crap in the middle between this low and this low is not kind of in the way. So I guess what I would say is if we were looking at this peak to this peak, we'd have to actually cut through that peak right there, which is something I don't do at all. But in this situation, we're not actually cutting through any of the other junk that's going on. So that's why I would at least consider that type of signal. And right now we do have, essentially, if you look at the daily, that same swing low back here on July 19th compared to now is the same low that I'm looking at here on the 4 hour. So we do have that for whatever that's worth. And so from that previous daily low, I'd argue there is divergence going on there, just like on the daily. Now, we don't want to ignore the fact that the previous daily high there at 1475 did get a bearish divergence, very clear there in that local area. The daily just does not have enough resolution to actually see, but the 4 hour is showing that bearish indication off the previous daily high. So getting through that is going to be important this morning for the bulls. As you can see right now, we're having a very strong push here in the pre-market session. So wouldn't be too surprising if that ends up getting broken there. So got the bearish divergence there, but arguably bullish divergence off the previous daily low. So we're kind of in this little range here, although it's 50, 60 point range. So it's not little. But you know what I'm saying. Over here, we also do have a bearish divergence off the previous daily high, but then in this local region here, a really nice bullish divergence off the previous daily low. And then once we bounced out of that level and pulled back to retest it, or at least get close, we got another bullish divergence. So some decent bullish divergences on the previous daily low, and then that bearish divergence off the previous daily high, and then a whole bunch of nice bullish indications on all these pullbacks. So overall, looks more bullish than it does bearish, and as you can see, we are getting a very strong push. Again, keep in mind that this retracement scheme here, we pulled back right to the 61.8, I mean almost to the tick, and then we had that previous swing high from yesterday's market there, where we had strong resistance and a sell-off, and so pretty nice level there. In fact, if you just came into the market last night for Globex, you would have seen here that you had 4 hour, 60 minute, and we're going to see on the shorter time frames, I think even 30 minute and 10 minute bearish signals off this high. And if you would have drawn a retracement scheme across this specific leg here, you would have had 3 levels to watch, expecting a pullback from that high. And then, and then this was that level at the 61.8 where we did have that previous resistance that, in my opinion, would have been the sexiest level to try long. Had you have just been patient, maybe even just put an order in there, that really would have been your best trade of the morning so far. You might not even have to trade if you got something in over there and are now writing it up for almost 30 points or 40 points here so far. So we do have that there, 60 minute, agreeing with the 4 hour with these two ends here. So we basically have the 2 lines in the sand, the previous daily low and the previous daily high. And then the 60 minute, again, has some pretty decent bullish divergences off the lows there. So let's go down to our 30-minute and take a look, see if there's agreement with what we're seeing on the higher time frames. And you do have another really nice bullish divergence off that previous daily low, and another nice bull divergence on the pullback there. Now over on the previous daily high doesn't, in my opinion, maybe there could be an argument for this kind of test of the previous daily high right here at the end of the day. But overall, not necessarily the clearest bearish divergence going on over here. Going back to this high, see, if we were to look at this high, this is a situation where the RVI is now in the way. So I wouldn't want to cut through that to draw a divergence. So in my opinion, don't want to look at that peak there. And you could make an argument here if you go all the way from that swing high down. Oh, now you're cutting through that price. So because we have to cut through price or through our RVI peak, there's really nothing from back here that I would like to use. So really there are no bearish divergences off the previous daily high from a 30-minute perspective. And we have a lot more, again, the bullish divergence from the previous daily low. And then on all these pullbacks here, you can see you got a signal there, you got a signal there, and I guess maybe not right here, but overall a lot more bullish indications and no bearish indication from the previous daily high. So I think we're getting the picture this morning. We've seen pretty much on the daily a pretty nice bullish divergence. We saw the 4-hour bullish divergence, we saw the hourly, now we see the 30-minute. And let's go down to the 10-minute here and the 10-minute as well. Really nice bullish divergence right off that previous daily low, and agreement with the bear signal off the previous daily high there. So, you know, things this morning, I would argue, are looking more bullish than bearish, especially considering the fact that we did hold the 61.8 retracement of this current price leg right here, and we held that previous resistance level. So I would argue that we have a little bit more of a bullish case this morning. Of course, we're going to want to see them break through 1475. If they can't get through that, then all of those bearish signals we saw equally on the other end here could potentially hold. But I think things look a little bit more bullish here. So we'll have to see what they do at 1475. And then remember, we talked about the 27 extension. It's going to bring us back up. Let me go to the 30-minute because I don't have all those levels. It brings us right back up into that 32 to 33 area where we found a lot of support in the market yesterday or on Wednesday. So this 32 to 33 could be the first potential target and potential resistance here on any push higher. So 1475 and 32 are kind of our two lines here that really need to be broken. And so that's where we'll leave it for the morning. And we'll just take a look here at our shorter time frames.